did you wrestle with any morality issues that, and I guess I'm thinking like, was there something you thought, well, that's not right based on a Christian and religious perspective. And then you realize later, why is that not right? It's just maybe what this group says is not right. But me as a, as a person, and you kind of did allude to that there were differences already, that you had a feeling that the religion didn't align with your beliefs. But I'm wondering, was there anything specifically as a result of you becoming an atheist or going down that path, you're like, this is completely wrong?
Yeah,
versus what we used to think. We're kind of confessing our sins here, that we used to think something, and we changed that opinion on people, perhaps, or whatever the issue was.
Yeah, so in middle school, my best friend at the time, I won't disclose their name for privacy reasons because of the story I'm about to tell, but they lost their virginity. And in a church youth group where they preach purity, purity until marriage and all of that, like it was this, I felt like I had this big secret that was gonna hurt her and hurt me and hurt all, like it, we were basically taught that it would poison the well, so to say. And, they wouldn't have appreciated having her, be a mentor, say, to some of the younger youth groupers, and or they probably just wouldn't have liked to have her in the group at all, to be honest, now looking back on it. But
how old was she at the time?
We were both like maybe 13 or so.
Oh, that's pretty young, though.
Which, I mean, it is young. It is.
Parents, we were like, oh my God,
Of course. And, they had maybe reason to be concerned, or, that would be a place for adults to like help guide, children into safety and security, instead of like the shame that ended up coming down. So I did end up confessing to a youth group leader. There's this woman that I really liked a lot and I trusted her. And really, she went and told like all of the other youth group leaders, and she betrayed that trust for me. And that was a big deal. And so then I watched all of this that happened afterwards with like the shaming her and shaming me. I was guilty by association because I was her best friend.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I don't know. There were several heartbreaks like that for me over the course of the years that I think I just felt so betrayed. There was another incident where a friend of mine, had a similar issue, she was grappling with her parents with whether or not her boyfriend, she could see him and she could go out after 11 and blah, blah, whatever. And, she was put into a room with like the elders and just ripped to shreds. I mean, when you're 14 years old and you're in the presence of, the entire church leadership and you're embarrassed about talking about it in the first place. You'd be embarrassed to talk to a friend about it, much less like adults. A panel of adults that are, shaming you. So there was just too many incidents like that it just left a really bad taste in my mouth. So I guess by the time I got to college, I was ripe for the taking. It just had to pick me right off of that tree. I practically almost fell off.
Yeah. It's funny. You mentioned something earlier struck me about being gay or something, however you said it. And that was kind of like you. There was a moment where I was 17, 18, give or take. I was working at a gas station, a Shell station in Florida. And three of the guys that worked, actually two of the guys and one of the women, they were all friends that grew up in the same area of town that I did. And they were all gay. And it was, I'm a 17-year-old boy in a sort of redneck side of a redneck town sometimes, and, but they were also like normal, and nice and friendly, and they would come in and their friends would come in. Yeah. As they were a handful of years older than me, and they're probably early to mid 20s, which, at that age feels like they're much older, but they would come in and it was one of my first realizations, like, oh, things I've heard are not true at all. Because now that I'm experiencing people outside of the bubble that I'd lived in, and not a hardcore bubble, but still, it's like, I don't understand why there's this problem, because nice, friendly people and their friends seem friendly and normal, it's normal. They're just like dudes that I hung out with because they were, the guys were changing shifts, and he comes in, 20 minutes early, and he's doing whatever, and I'm hanging out and talking to him. And
it was a surprise to you that they were so normal and also gay, because of the way that we are kind of taught to think about,
at least back then. And of course, this is the 80s for me, because I'm a little bit older than you, but it was kind of when it was. And then I'd look at the religious part of that again, and maybe the Southern Baptist more so than the Episcopal, but which was again mostly who I was around, like kids at school and whatever. Most the Southern Baptist is a very strong religion in the South, So I was like, this isn't. I hear all this over here, and I'm talking to people face to face. It does not seem to jive at all. It's completely different. So you and I had similar things where we had something that was personal with a friend, and it didn't connect. And
it didn't. Well, and they don't, for people who preach to say that, that they are that they are moral, or that they use their religion sort of like this alibi for being moral.
Yeah.
And what I actually heard a church leader say this one time around the same time when I was probably in middle school or high school. Somebody asked if they could bring a friend to, one of the youth group gatherings, but they were concerned, like, well, this person is gay. Like, can I bring them? Really? And then I heard one of the church leaders actually say, like, well, as long as they're not a child molester. It's like, wait a minute, like those, I really and truly, and I think we as atheists kind of get lumped into that group of like, just like societal rejects that like have something, like there's something inherently wrong with us for existing outside of the dominant culture in a way that like we should be ashamed of ourselves for, somehow some sort of like ethical misgiving.
We are definitely, and I hate to say that, and I'm saying it from the perspective of people that are not us. We get lumped in as deviants, in some way.
Deviants.
I'm obviously not saying that gay people are deviant, but no, like, oh, you're an atheist, or you're gay, or you're a devil worshiper, which is really obviously even more ridiculous. But it's like it's all the same group of non-moral people to a lot of people.
Right.
Which is frustrating. I mean, I'd say I get it. I know why they're saying it. I just can't understand why they believe it, per se. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just,
they're regurgitating it and internalized it.
Yeah. I mean, we were out last night with some friends, and we met a couple, and we were out with another couple, and they had a couple that they knew. And it's not like my atheism came up one time and then 4 or 5 hours we were all together. And I presume they thought I was a nice person and my wife was a nice person. So it's like, I bet if they really knew, they might be like, oh, I didn't know atheists could actually have a conversation without, trying to sacrifice a child or something, whatever we do.
You actually had morality. Like